What's going on? Thanks so much for clicking the video. Today I'm going to be bringing you the life story of the time someone hit our car in a funeral procession. This one's crazy. It happened recently too, probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. Basically, we were at my aunt's funeral. Rest in peace to my aunt. But my parents both drove separately, and then we had my family friends there as well who attended the funeral. And I decided that I wanted to ride with my family friends. My dad is super close with their dad, and then they have two kids who are twin boys, who I'm like really, really good friends with as well. Let's call them David and John for now. But when I was riding in the car with them, everything was normal. We were just in this funeral procession, and we had been riding in this funeral procession all day because we rode, I think, to the or from the funeral home to the church, and then we actually even rode to my aunt's house as like a little like salute to her, and then we actually left the church, and we were going to go to the graveyard to see the burial or do the service at the graveyard, like the conclusion of the service there. And so this was the last part of the procession. And so this was a huge funeral too. I got to say, it was probably like, I want to say like 100 cars at least, maybe even more, 100 or 120 cars. And so this was not the smallest funeral procession, and I've been in like 2 or 3 before, but this by far was the biggest because my aunt was, a lot of people knew my aunt, and I'd never seen one this size. And I always wondered about like, hey, can like have accidents ever happened in a funeral procession before? And I remember actually asking my dad that day about it, like, because if you guys don't know, in a funeral procession, you can run red lights. You don't have to stop at stop signs. You just put like a little sticker on your car. You put your hazards on, and you're pretty much exempt from the rules of the road. That's a like generic idea of it. I mean, you still should watch out and be careful and scan always, but for the most part, you don't really have to follow the rules of the road because people should be yielding for you. You're in a funeral procession. That's what I thought. That's the impression I had. I was wrong. But anyway, I asked my dad even that day, and I said, like, hey, like, have you ever gotten in an accident, or like, can that happen? He's like, yeah, but it's highly unlikely because, you got all these cars riding with you, and you got fat stickers all over your cars that say funeral, and everyone has their hazards on. So you still have to be careful, of course. And he said something to me like that, and I said, okay. And then basically we're getting in this car, and my family friends were driving at the time this minivan, and I'll put pictures of everything at the end so you guys can check out what happened exactly. But they were driving like this older minivan. I guess it was like their road trip car or something. I don't even know, but it wasn't like a brand new car or anything, but it was really good for carpooling and stuff. So they had the room for it. It was just the two boys, the dad and me, and we could all comfortably sit there. So I agreed, like, yeah, I'll drive to the graveyard with them, and that way I can like catch up with them or whatever. And like, it was just gonna be good to talk. I hadn't seen them in a couple months, and it was just gonna be good to catch up. So we all got in the car. We were driving down the road just fine. It was like a long drive too. It had to be 20 minutes from the church to the grave site that we were going to, because this grave site was like where my entire family is buried, and that's where my aunt was going to be buried as well. So we are just sitting in the car. Everything's going good. We're laughing. We're telling stories, whatever. And then I remember one specific moment where we're talking, of course, about, wakes and funerals because that was the subject of the day. And then I remember my friend John in the front seat said something about how, when he's at his wake, or when it's his time to have a wake or whatever, or a funeral, he wants to just do a public burning or something. He said something like he wants to light himself on fire in front of everyone. He was kidding, but it was funny, and we were all laughing. We were dying laughing about what this kid was saying. This kid was like just going off on a tangent about how he was gonna like dump gasoline on himself and light himself on fire. And yeah, it was probably in poor taste because we were at a funeral and all that, but I think we were just trying to mostly make light of the situation. We were trying to like find some humor because that's what we do. That's what my family does. That's how we cope with things. And yeah, but anyway, so we were all laughing about that. And then right as we're like in the middle of like laughing about that, everyone's distracted. Even the driver, who is my friend's dad, he's a good driver, of course. He's very responsible, but he had been laughing too. And no one was really paying attention. And then there was a guy who was in the other intersection, and he had a left green arrow, and we were going straight on the intersection, so we were obviously running the red, and then he had a left green arrow that I guess for whatever reason he just wasn't paying attention. And then all of a sudden, right after we're laughing, I'm not paying attention whatsoever. I'm just like dying laughing at like whatever John's saying. And then I just hear John go, "Dad, Dad, 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 Dad," like over and over. And I was like, what the hell? Like, what is he talking about? And I look to my left in the intersection, and I see this car coming right at me. I was sitting behind the driver, and this driver was coming, or I was sitting behind the driver, and this other car was coming right at my direction. So I was like, holy crap, like I get a front row seat to this, whatever. And I remember thinking, like, we are for sure going, there's no way this guy's not going to hit us. So my friend's dad, after finally he snaps back into it and he's back in it, he kind of turns a little bit to the right as far as he can. But then I see this other car veering at us who wasn't paying attention. Finally, he slams on the brake, but it was too late, smacked into the side of our car. I could see the entire thing because it was my seat. I was closest to the collision. And, it was crazy, man. It was literally crazy. This guy hits the side of our car. We pull over. I get out, and surprisingly, like, it wasn't bad. At like, I want to say the impact and like the accident itself was not bad at all. It honestly felt like bumper cars. But then when we got out, the door was a little more dinged up than I thought it would be. But we got out of the car, and this entire procession that was behind us and who we were following is all now kind of like rolling down their windows, like yelling if we're okay, but they still are driving because they still want to, keep up with the funeral procession. But now we had to pull over. I called my dad. I said, "Hey, we're gonna be a little hung up. We got in an accident, but we're all okay, and I'll see you at the graveyard when we get there, I guess." And so we go out to talk to the guy. The guy was super nice. He was like a college grad, or he had just graduated, and he was a very smart guy. And and so he was super nice about it. My dad's friend is one of the nicest people ever, and he was very nice about it. And I think the guy had a rental car or something, but he ended up having insurance for it, so all was figured out there. I just remember seeing like that picture of our minivan with the funeral stickers all over it, and then it was all dinged up on the side, and just thinking like, oh my god, people are probably driving by us and just thinking like, wow, it's probably just one thing after another for those people, because people were probably like, could not believe that a funeral procession car had just gotten in an accident. And I couldn't believe it either. I was just asking my dad about it earlier in the day. But yeah, it was crazy. They ended up getting that door replaced, completely free. Insurance covered it. I'm sure the other guy's insurance kind of shot up or whatever, but all was forgiven in the end. We drove home, and we actually had some jokes about it. Just, I don't know. It was crazy, man, because we were already at my aunt's funeral. It was already a really sad day, and the next thing you know, we're pulled over. I actually didn't even end up making it to the graveyard in time for the service, which kind of sucked, but it was a crazy situation that I definitely will not forget. And the only thing you can do is look back at it and laugh. So that was the story, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I will put pictures of like as much as I can of what happened that day, but we were all in suits. We were all like, ready to go to this service, and someone just smacked into us, wasn't paying attention, and you know how it goes, one thing after another. But thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you appreciated the video. If you did, please drop a like. That'd be amazing. And stay tuned, because I'll be posting more and more. Peace.